Hi everyone, this is a mini lesson on how to think about big and small actions to create change in our writing. So, the premise of our genre is to spark and inspire change through our writing. And so, we've talked about different problems and different ways to change. Problems within our community and society, whether it be environmental change, whether it be change for civil rights, whether it be individuality or diversity. But there's also another way to think about change and action to create that change. And we can think about the actions to create that change in big and small ways. There are lots of things that we can do as writers and readers to create change through our actions, and those actions can range in size. Some examples that we can talk about are planting a seed. That's a small action. That's something small that we can do that can make a big impact. Donating clothes, giving someone food, all of these things are small actions. There's also some big actions that we can take in order to create change. We can gather people together to protest something. We can stop using products. We can get people together and have conversations and do actions based on what we're hearing from each other as far as what needs to happen. And so understanding change and the actions that we want our readers to take, and we think about those in big and small ways, can really help us as writers explain different actions to our readers, so that way they have a better understanding of things that they can do, those actions that they can take. And so by knowing that, our readers will hopefully think that it's easier to act to create change, and they can, they think, oh, I can do this. That's something that I can do. And us as writers, when we're trying to convey these messages to our readers, if we know about the different types of actions that we can take, can really help us effectively use them in our writing. If we know the appropriate action for our characters to take to a problem, the more effective the solution and the change that will happen from it. So we're going to examine these two books. All right. So what I want you to do is I'm going to read these two books to you, and I want you in your daybook, and I want you to in your daybook. I want you to think about the types of actions that you see taken by people to create change. And maybe have a big and small chart in your daybook. What for Boston Tea Party, what actions do you see? You can write that down. You can categorize them big and small. It's up to you. But I want you to, as I'm reading this story, denote the different actions that you see and what you think about them. Now, we're going to come back together and discuss the different things that you noticed in those two books. Okay, and so once we describe and use what we've seen in those books, we can have a better understanding. Well, what is a big action? Well, what is a small action? Let's decide and separate maybe some examples from our book to have a better understanding of, well, what is an example of a big action, or what's an example of a small action that our readers can take in order to create change. Now, once we do that, I want you to get with your writing partner, and I want you to talk, have a conversation, and come up with ideas of a big and small action that someone can take to spark change. And it could be as simple as picking up trash every day, or it can be as big as refusing to do something for an entire month. So you guys have that conversation, think, and come up with examples, one example each of one small action and one big action, and then we're going to come back together and organize them on our chart. All right, now that we've done that, we can look at the different answers that were given, and we'll have those discussions, and I want you to take the answers that we have from our group discussion and use that as inspiration. Because as authors, as writers, the best way to explain to our readers, one way to explain to our readers about the type of action that they can take, is have a character do it. Have them read about someone taking that action so that way they can see what happens. Because if they can see the appropriate action to the problem, they can see the solution, making it a little more easier for them to understand. So what I want you to do is I want you to take these ideas from our class conversation and our chart of big actions and small actions, pick one, and I want you to create a narrative story. Having your character, your main character, perform that big or small action to create change, and see where that story takes you. The whole reason that we're looking at this is because we want our readers to understand that, one, any action that they take can help make a difference to create change. That's probably a critical purpose with this genre. But I also want you to understand that by knowing the types of actions, whether they're big or small, and how to use them in our writing, it will help our readers feel less intimidated. They'll actually see it happening. They'll read about someone doing it and see what happened. And so it'll make it a little more realistic, a little more approachable for them. So that way they're like, oh, that's an example of something that I can do. Maybe I can do that. Okay, let's try it and see what happens. And it can also give them examples of things that they can do, actions that they can take for problems that they know exist. Maybe they hadn't thought of certain ideas, and your story and your character performing that action gives them the idea for a problem that they see or experience in the world that they want to change. So keep that in mind as you write your story today with your character and performing a big and small action. Happy writing!